Did you check the audio? We good to roll?
Yeah, the audio is great. I did a
Bet.
test before we started, so we're good.
Bet. Okay.
Let's just
So,
not mention Harold, and then
alright.
we'll be great.
Harold is the Abby's house ghost that likes to fuck with electronics.
He's fucking with my Echo Home right now, my Echo Show. It's glitching out back there.
Oh my god. He's
You need
close.
a REM pod.
You honestly could benefit from a REN pod, but it's the fact of, do you really want to know?
I don't want to know, no.
Oh my god.
I mean, just channel it with tarot cards. You'll be fine. I wouldn't bust out the Ouija board, though.
Hell no. Don't fuck with that shit.
It's for 7-year-olds. It'll be fine.
I'll never forget. I had a group of
I can't
teenagers.
believe that it has that on there.
I had a group of teenagers walk up to me not long after I started our job. I'm not gonna name it. And they were like, we didn't sell them at the time because now we do. And they were like, do y'all sell Ouija boards? And I was like, no. And then they walked away and they were like, she probably just doesn't want to tell us. And I'm like, trust me, I couldn't give two shits if you bought it. We don't have it.
We do have it, though.
But at the time we
Occasionally.
didn't.
Yeah. I
Dude,
think I've only seen them like 2 or 3 times since I've been there.
I tried out a Ouija board once in high school. It was in the school. And
What?
yeah, I'm 90% sure the weird girl was the one that was moving the planchette.
Not the weird
She
girl.
dyed her hair blue, so
That doesn't make
What
her
do you have
weird.
against blue-haired people?
it does make
I've
her
dyed
weird.
my hair blue.
Myself from ages 16 to 17 to 18 would not be happy with you right now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm
I
just
was
saying.
goth in middle school and high school, so
Oh god. Oh god. No, the weird people is not from their hair, it's by their actions.
if it's like a horse girl or something, that's different.
Oh god, and I went to a school with a lot of
Drop
fucking horse girls.
drop a
Or
name
the
in the chat. I
the
might know who
girls
you're
that
talking about.
Do not
attach
drop a name in
tails
the
to
chat.
the belts. I had a lot of friends that had the tail on their belts, so
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
no.
yeah.
Dude,
Oh.
I would like to find this one guy and thank him. There was a time in my life where my mom worked at Carowinds, right? And we went one time and we got like one of the raccoon tails that they sold there. And I was wearing it home and we walked into a McDonald's and this really like this middle-aged guy started making fun of me like I was taking a weird multicolored shit because that's probably what it looked like. Never wore it again in my life.
He saved you from
He saved me.
bullying.
Yes.
Oh, warm wishes to whoever that man was.
I don't know who you are, dude, but you're pretty sweet.
Oh my god.
This is why we need to bring bullying back.
Why was I just about to say that, but I thought it was too mean?
No, I fully agree. Kids are too soft. I'm
They
just kidding.
are. They really are.
We sound like our dads talking about participation trophies.
I don't care about participation trophies. What I care about is the weirdo kids walking around. All right?
Well, now without TikTok, there's no validation in their weirdness. They don't have their
Yeah,
community.
there were a lot of furries on a lot of furries doing lives.
Oh.
A lot of wolf people.
Yeah.
Do you remember that TikTok? And it was like The lady with the lizard, and it was like her name is Margot, not Fargo or
Yeah, she's a
Wells Fargo.
furry.
She's a furry.
She's a fucking furry. She lost a lot of followers because of that. Me,
Good,
myself, and I included.
including me. Oh
She got mad because she
God!
lost a lot of followers, but you know what?
Like, what the fuck do you expect? It's been known on hating furries.
It's pretty niche to get supporters, you know.
Mm.
I mean, you do
Like,
you.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. You do you, but it's the people that like they take it too far.
And they're sniffing other people's butts in public. That's kind of
It,
weird.
yeah, it's too real, and they
Or
bark at
or
each
on a
other.
leash
Oh my
in
God!
public. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
get it.
gosh.
You have your saying whatever, but when it becomes to like that one guy, what was it? It was a vine. It was
Oh,
like
not anymore.
no. It was like on the inside. I am a wolf, and he's
Oh.
standing on a boat, and he goes. "Arr."
That was
Oh no!
so
On
long
all
ago.
levels except
She
physical. On all levels except physical, I am a wolf. Clip
No.
it.
Clip it. No, but going back to the leash thing too. Have you guys that new fuck, what is that movie called? It's got Nicole Kidman in it. It just came out. Let me do some research. Um me spelling Nicole wrong. Oh yeah, Baby
Damn.
Girl. Baby Girl. So, are any of you planning on watching this thing?
Is
I
that
don't know. I've heard
the
things.
shit that won the Grammy versus Wicked?
No, that's the other musical.
Amelia Perez?
Yeah.
Ah.
So like this movie with Nicole Kidman, they film it as another, like those cliche movies where like an old woman or like an older woman gets involved with a young man and then the young man wants to kill her entire family.
Huh?
What the fuck?
So like
That's not something I'm aware of.
the premise of those movies and all that stuff, like The Boy Next Door and all that shit.
Nope.
Okay. Well, there are some movies like that. And they're framing this movie like that and they're like the entire time the person I learned this from a person on TikTok, but the entire time this person is saying that this movie feels like it's a horror movie, like it's Nosferatu and all that shit. And she continues saying that it just ends up that Nicole Kidman in the end is just she something bad went wrong in her childhood that she just wanted to be walked on a leash in a sexual way. That's how it ended.
Fuck.
It's like,
Fuck.
what the fuck? Like she was like, it was so anticlimactic and so stupid.
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna miss
I,
TikTok.
I did watch
Me
Nosferatu
too.
though. That was really weird.
I was about to say I've heard it was interesting.
Is it
I want
weird?
to watch it real
I
bad.
want to watch it
You,
real bad
you
too.
Real
you
bad.
should watch it, but they made that one dude look really ugly. I
The
don't like it.
Skarsgård?
Yeah, I don't like I don't like his mustache. That's the thing that grosses me out. I don't care about everything else.
I saw a spoiler of it on TikTok, and it was what he looked like in the makeup, and he is unrecognizable.
I know.
I love that for him.
Yeah, he likes doing
Yeah.
those he likes doing those scenes where it's like, or not those scenes, those movies where he's unrecognizable.
I loved him as Pennywise though. Nothing beats
Yes.
Dude,
that.
same. He actually I was worried a bit whenever they had announced.
Because who can beat Tim Curry? Nobody. Nobody
Exactly.
can beat Tim Curry.
That's why I was worried because I'm like, oh God, like they're gonna fuck this up. And they did it justice. And the fucking casting for the second movie, genius.
I still love that one clip of Bill Hader asking what power fucking Finn Wolfhard has. Cuz he was like, this kid just asked to have me play him, an older
And it
version of
happened.
him, and it happened.
Like homie holds a lot of power, especially at that time, because Stranger
Yeah.
Things was like at its peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Moment of silence for TikTok.
I'm gonna silence. I'm gonna insert some of the tap music.
Yeah. Play taps for TikTok.
Oh god. Okay, let's run that intro.
All right. Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of Unpopular. I'm Abby.
I'm Kaya.
And I'm Taylor.
Today we will discuss and share extraterrestrial encounters and the paranormal. We also have a special guest. Would you please introduce yourself, special guest?
Hi, I'm Kat. Nice to meet y'all. I'm friends with Taylor. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into it.
Oh goodness.
It's my first time. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Kat has been saying, "Hey, I'll be a guest" ever since before we recorded our first episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
She was
Oh,
like,
Like
"If
I,
you need a guest, I'm down."
yeah, I was like the first, like one of the first people to watch your first episode, but I need to catch up on it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's good. It's good. I got someone else watching the podcast now too.
Ooh, who?
Yay.
I added.
Tyler. Oh,
Go,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go.
I was just gonna say Tyler's mom has been saying like if we ever needed a guest that she would love to be a guest.
Dude, I would love to hear some fucking crazy ass story times from that woman. I know she's got like a crazy story.
Get her in here.
Get her. Get her.
Get her in here.
Oh
I'll
my
have to call
god.
her up sometime.
I'm sure she's got like a crazy story we could do for like Am I the Asshole or just a crazy story episode.
Yes.
Oh
Am
yeah,
I the
I can
devil?
imagine.
Yeah.
I love Am I the Devil.
Most
Yeah, Kat's the one who told me
wonderful.
about Am I the Devil.
Smosh reads from it very often. What the
I've
fuck?
noticed. I've
This one
noticed.
creepy dude just hit me up on Discord because he sees I'm active. I'm gonna
Ooh.
block him.
Oh my god. But no, that buddy that I told Abby about it. The buddy that I am talking to again, like we've been friends since middle school. And like we on and off like talk to each other because we're adults and we have crazy lives. And I was telling him last night that we had a podcast. He was like, "Hey, add me to that Discord story time." So I did, and then he almost started spamming the general chat. And I texted him. I was like, "Dude, don't fucking spam it. The girls are gonna text me and be like, 'Who the fuck is this person?'"
I would have for sure kicked him.
I know he would. So he deleted it and just kept the one sticker. He's like, "My bad." And I was like, "You're good." Oh my god. And he was like, because the first episode was that that like spooky jingle. And he was like, the jingle is killing me. And I was like, I promise it gets better because Kaya made music for it and it's so much better.
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of getting into our groove now.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit at least.
100%.
100%.
I just come in winging it every time.
Dead ass. I literally found my story today on my 15-minute break.
I found mine today too,
You
like
guys
a
aren't
couple
sharing personal
hours.
stories?
No, we're gonna read Reddit stories. But remember when
Okay.
I asked you what story you were gonna share?
Yeah, mine are personal.
I can
Well,
I
that's why I go ahead.
can I do a personal story? I kind of want to do a personal story too.
Yeah. I
Nice.
figured we would talk about personal stuff too, like as Cat was going on.
Okay, yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah, we wanted to make sure like our stories kind of align. That's why I asked you like, "What's your story?" And you were like, "Paranormal go like paranormal and like aliens." And so we kind of try to find something or stories that align with yours. So like, yes, yours is personal, but you're not like sticking out. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Like this story I have, it's from a like a subreddit called Real Ghost Stories. It's like someone's personal story
Hmm.
instead of like a scary story like when like one of our first episodes was about.
Ooh, I'm looking that one up now.
Yeah, the subreddit's called Real Ghost Stories. There's not a lot. The one I found was like the earliest one was from a year ago, so it's not active. But
Mm.
this one was pretty good.
Yeah, all of them are from like a year to 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Trying to find
all
where
right.
I saved my shit.
Uh, which of the three of us is gonna start?
I refuse.
Kai, you want to go first?
Damn. I can. Well, it's not too long. It's just a little bit long.
We don't care. It'll be 2 hours.
All right, let me open up Reddit again. So, mine's from 4 years ago. Okay. Um, so this one is titled "My Experiences as a Crime Scene Cleaner."
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh shit.
So to start out, you need a little backstory to show how I got into this situation. When I got out of high school around 2003, finding a job was difficult, so I took whatever horrible jobs I could to get by. When I found a job cleaning fire and water damage full time, I was excited to have steady income and start saving, but this quickly turned into a nightmare that I had to endure for almost 2 years. The company I worked for put me on my first job, which was a water damage claim or a basement flooded with sewage. So after a few days of work, we finished and it was on to the next job. My boss then called me into his office the next morning and told me about a special crew that he was setting up and asked if I would be the crew leader supervising three other guys that were just hired. I found this strange as I had only been working there a total of around 3 days, but figured my work ethic was already paying off and I would get a raise. I only made 10 an hour to start. Not only did I not get a raise, but I got no training in the new position other than a work van with cleaning material and the phone numbers for the three guys that also were hired in to do water/fire damage cleanup. The boss told me what tools were best to use and what cleaning products to use to sanitize, along with where everything was located in the van, with hazmat suits and respirators. But he was vague about what kinds of things I would clean up. He just said the situations were always different and I would get detailed instructions with each job. He called my position CSC crew leader. The boss told me that I would never have to see the deceased, as the coroner would have the remains gone by the time my crew got there, and to use my logic to determine what needed to be removed from the homes and what could be cleaned. The first job I had in my new position, which the boss told me about when I got to the office, was cleaning up the remains of an elderly man or woman who died in their house and had been laying in a chair. When we arrived, the coroner had me come inside to show me a few things that were considered hazardous material and needed to be removed due to the risk of disease. I guess my boss knew a few people from the county coroner's office, and much of the work came from their recommendations. Not only was the deceased still in the house, but was fully visible to me and the other guy, and you could smell the rot through the mask as the house had no AC, and this was mid June. The coroner was backed up and waiting on additional people to show up to load the body as it was falling apart.
Oh
And
my god.
I call it a body because I honestly couldn't tell if it was male or female and was trying not to look too long as it was disturbing. The other three guys I worked with handled it well, but two got sick from the smell and had to go outside to puke. We all waited outside after the coroner showed us the chair, the fluids that leaked into the carpet, and the basement where the fluids went through the subfloor and puddled on some boxes in the basement. The coroner's support arrived and took the deceased out, and me and the crew started working. After about 5 minutes, weird things started to happen. The first of which was when I began to disassemble the chair. I had removed the back of the chair and was putting it into the special hazmat bags that I was given, and the base started to rock when I was about 10 feet away, with wait, putting the bag with the back of the chair by the front door. Nobody else was in the same room as the other guys were in the basement dealing with moving boxes. I brushed it off and took apart the base of the chair as much as I could, and when I got it into the bag, I got a chill up my back and then began feeling sick. I just figured it was the shock of what I was cleaning hit me and pushed on. Even though the chill was strange as I was very hot in full hazmat in June. Next was removing the carpet and assessing the floor to see if it would be able to be cleaned or if I had to remove a section of floor. So I called the boss to ask him, and he told me just to pour the special cleaner on the area to soak into the floorboards and it would be fine. So I got it out of the truck from where he said it was and brought it inside. When I got inside, all three guys in the basement were scrambling to get out of there, tripping over each other, and all three ran outside. When I asked them what was up, all three said there was someone in the cluttered basement and they assumed it was a homeless person or junkie. Detroit has many issues with these kinds of things. I listened out one of the open windows to the basement. It's kind of the first thing we did when we started working. Bleh. Open any window possible, prop the doors open, so maybe someone got inside then, or possibly before we got there and was hiding. After listening a few minutes and hearing nothing, me and another of the workers went inside, armed with a mag light and a piece of metal fence post, and searched the basement. Nothing was down there but the footprints of the shoe covers we used. But when we started up the stairs, we heard a horrible hacking cough from somewhere in the basement. When we looked for it, there was nothing. But the corner of the basement had a bunch of dust stirred up, like someone was moving things very recently. That weirded us both out. We called the guys back in, and they got back to the boxes, but all of them kept feeling like they were being touched while throwing away material from the boxes that got fluid on them. I went back to my upstairs job, but found that the cleaner I put next to the floorboards was gone, and I started getting frustrated as it was the only jug I had of this cleaner, and I clearly remember being set next to the area before the guys ran up the stairs and my attention was redirected. I began to take out trash, figuring I would find it eventually, or the basement guys took it for the floor, and I found it on its side, behind the bag that had the back of the chair in it. This is impossible. There were like six other bags in front of this one near the front door, and this was a gallon bottle of cleaner. Again, I got a chill, but this one was brought on by what sounded like a whisper that I could not make out the words to. Cleaned the floorboards and moved out trash. Job complete. That night, each member of my crew had a dream about an older man telling us that we are not welcome in his home, touching his belongings, and we need to leave. In my dream, I was alone in his house. The old man cried and told me I was destroying his things and he couldn't replace anything. He was trying to push me out of his house, but it was like I was ignoring him. Even when he would push me and scream at me, no reaction from me. He then threw my cleaner into the garbage pile that I had made by the front door, exactly where I found it. Two of the three guys of the crew told me their dreams about the old man pushing them as they went through boxes of ruined pictures and other old stuff that needed to be thrown out due to the risk of disease from his fluids. They also said it was like they had no control and were on autopilot. They said that they were so sad but couldn't do anything. The thing that got me about the dreams of the other two guys was that they both said the man was getting so upset that he began violently coughing, and that the man kept grabbing their arms when they would touch boxes or throw things into the trash. Neither of the guys were in the house when me and the other guy heard the coughing from the basement. The guy that went into the basement with me said that he had a dream, but all he remembered was waking up sad like he did something wrong and had a horrible coughing fit, which might just be a coincidence, but I connected it in my mind as related to the other dreams. We all talked about it and came to the conclusion that we were all just having a reaction to a situation, and it was nothing more than our brains coping with what we had to do. I'm very into psychology, so I rationalized it the best I could, and we hoped for better assignments the next day. Hmm. Next few jobs were not so bad. Cleaning up blood at a home invasion, no casualty but huge mess. Then there were a few other bloody crime scenes with casualties, but nothing notable happened. About 2 weeks into the job, we began to learn the tricks of the trade, and we were split into two different groups so that I was responsible to manage as a crew leader. That I was responsible to manage as a crew leader, so I would have to go to different sites if the other two guys had an issue or didn't know what to do. I thought I was getting used to the job as well as the other guys, as we had no other experiences like the first job, but I was wrong. The next job that there was activity was a suicide of a man that was middle aged. The coroner had already removed the body, but it was a mess. The guy had shot himself with what I think was a large caliber handgun or shotgun, as the spray was everywhere in the basement in like a second living room. But um, there were skull fragments lodged in drywall, brain matter all over. And again, he was not found for a bit, so the smell was horrible. First step in cleaning this was using our backpack vacuum cleaner to suck up all the biomaterial. The coroner told us when we went in that he and his partner were extremely uneasy in the house and it felt strange, and we immediately started getting a claustrophobic, suffocating feeling when we went into the basement as well. To make matters worse, the family of the man had come over and were crying upstairs, but the vacuum noise helped to cancel that out. While I was cleaning, the power to the lights went out and it was completely pitch black. This was strange because my vacuum was still powered. My crewmate started screaming at this point, so I turned off my vacuum and climbed off my ladder. I thought maybe he touched a wire to the lights, but when my vacuum unit was turned off, he was still screaming and I can hear things being knocked over. I started fumbling around for my flashlight on my tool belt and yelled for my friend, asking what was going on, but all I got was panicked screaming. Then I saw in the pitch black something darker that was moving in my direction, and I'll admit I freaked out. I slipped trying to back up, still looking at my belt for my flashlight, and found it when my back hit the basement wall. I turned on the light, aimed it at the blackest shape have ever seen, and when the light turned on, I saw the shape of a man wearing a flannel shirt, beard, and an expression like he was about to attack me, and then it was gone. My crewmate was behind where the entity was, sitting on the floor, rocking with his hands on his head. When I approached, he picked up his flashlight off the ground, turned it on, then ran up the stairs and outside and threw up. I followed behind him, asking if he was okay and why he was screaming. I thought I just imagined the entity and the man because his screaming scared me, but he told me that he was scrubbing the wall and felt something pulling on something in his tool belt, and he thought it was me, but when he turned around, the lights went out and he was engulfed by what he said was like dark smoke, and he immediately couldn't breathe and was struggling to move. He managed to pull his flashlight out, but it was knocked out of his hand like his wrist was grabbed with force, and he managed to scream. When he screamed, trinkets started falling off an entertainment center that was about 3 feet to his side, and the black smoke moved back, but he was close to passing out from exertion. He also said he lost hearing and didn't know. and didn't know that any noise came out when he started screaming, and that the stuff falling off the shelves was landing on him, and that's why he was covering his head. He said it felt like a weight was lifted off him when the dark smoke backed up, but he felt sick right away, and the light from my flashlight made the sick feeling increase. We took an early lunch where we sat there, pale as ever, and didn't say much other than he said he breathed in that smoke and didn't feel right. I got him some Gatorade and his color started to come back. I never told him I saw a man when I turned on my light because we still needed to finish and I didn't want to put that in his head since he never mentioned seeing it. When we went back, the lights in the basement were on again. Half the things that fell from the shelves were back on the entertainment center, and the TV was on baseball. There was also a different smell in the room, similar to burnt hair. My workers stayed a half hour, got sick again, and went home for the day, leaving me alone to finish, which I didn't want to do, but had to, as the other guys had their own job. After cleaning up everything with my vacuum, I began scrubbing the old blood, which is hard after it congeals. Mix in brain matter and it's like glue, even with cleaner. While I was finishing up, I kept seeing the shape of a person always in the side of my vision. Each time, I would smell that strange burnt hair smell. And a few times, I also felt like a force was pulling at items on my belt. Not sure what item, as there were several things in my belt. When I finished the job, I went to use the bathroom upstairs, and in the hallway along the way, I heard like muffled crying or moaning. I froze up and stayed still, thinking maybe a family member had come back, and when I panned around, there was nothing. But I saw a picture on the wall of a man with a beard wearing a flannel, several other pictures in the hallway with other scenarios of the same man wearing different flannels with deer or fish or family. I had not seen a picture of that man, as I had not been anywhere else in the house with the bathroom, nor did I use the bathroom downstairs because pulling off the hazmat stuff is a pain. As I was securing the house, closing all windows, locking doors, and shutting down every light but the front porch light, I saw the front curtain move and again saw the darker than black form in the front window. The last experience that I will share in this thread happened mid July in a very bad area in Detroit. There had been an incident where a guy supposedly tried to abduct a child, was stopped by people in the neighborhood who beat the man very badly, and he escaped to his house where the neighborhood people quickly called police and civilians surrounded the man's home to prevent escape. The police response time in this area is horrible, and the people were throwing rocks through the man's window, damaged his car. The man was hurt bad by the mob and was hurt by a rock or glass and died in the home. This is assumption by DPD. From what the police officer told me, it was a misunderstanding, and the man picked up a girl that was injured riding her bike, and some kids that knew her told their parents that the man was kidnapping her, and people overreacted, and the man was brutally beaten. The crime scene was pretty simple to do. We secured windows, cleaned up blood and bodily fluid, but as soon as I entered the house, I just felt wave after wave of fear and sadness. Like I've never felt this before, and it hit in waves that made my legs weak. My working buddy who was there showed up late and didn't get the story from the cop like I did, but the experience but experienced the same feelings I had. The whole time we were there, we saw a form darting around corners like it was watching us, then hiding. It was similar to like a small bit of fog or mist. We also heard very slight cries for help coming from several areas in the house, and also what sounded like "please stop" and a long "no." A few times the crowd came back and yelled at the house. Also, when this was going on, activity in the house increased, and we could hear footsteps go up and down the stairs, a door slam, and it sounded like the front door would open and close, but we never saw any of the doors move. The path of the footsteps sounded like from the front door through living room to bathroom to stairs to upstairs bungalow room. Uh, The part that really got me was I could feel the floor impact that felt like the vibrations of someone running past when I was cleaning up the areas. And each time I would be hit by one of those waves of fear and sadness. When we left the house, there was a few people on porches hanging out like is usual during summer, and the people were still hostile and yelling some random things, but directed at us as we loaded the van and took off hazmat suits. We ignored this, but before we had loaded all the material from the house into the van and locked the house, the front door slammed hard enough to sound like a gunshot, which scared me and my crew member, along with the people on the front porch, to the point where they went inside. The front door deadbolt was somehow locked and we could not get it open. I think it was a difficult key, but I think it was a different key than the knob. So we ended up leaving several boards in the house that were left over from boarding a few of the windows. The feeling of relief when I left the house was like night and day. Inside, I was anxious, scared, paranoid, and just really down, which could be due to knowing the story, but when I got outside, it was like flipping a light switch. I immediately felt better, and me and the other guys in my crew were joking and laughing about dumb stuff and normal 19 and 20-year-old shenanigans. I keep forgetting how young they are in this. Um, I have many of these stories written down in detail in a journal I started after the first 3 months of working at this job. I talked to the guys on the crew and got other strange stories from them too. I know that some of this could be very well formed by my subconscious mind to cope with traumatic situations, but some of it has no explanation. And when I hear other members of the crew tell me their stories when they haven't been influenced by mine, that is a horse of a different color. When I have time, I will put out the journal and give more of my experiences. The job got way worse when I started the journal after 3 months in. Several experiences with what I think was paranormal, many situations that stressed my mental state to the point where my mask of sanity started to slip. In the end, I worked at this place for almost 2 years, and of my crew, all of them died. Two from suicides, one from drug overdose that could have been intentional, but we will never know. I just
Fucking
know,
plot twist.
mhm.
Damn.
I just know that when these three guys, my age, around 19 and 20, started this job, we were all normal, well adjusted guys with no cares in the world other than girls, parties, and working. I watched each one of them slowly drain their joy and passion for life. And I know this sounds bad, but each one that died was considerate enough to die in a clean way, most likely so another person wouldn't have to see the horrible thing that we all saw so often. And that is it.
Damn, that was crazy.
Oh my god.
That's so depressing. The last one, though, the last one was like very disheartening that that man just died in fear like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, you wouldn't catch my ass going back to the job after the first time.
Yeah, no.
When I and everybody on my
Mm-mm.
crew was having the same fucking dream. No, fuck that shit. I don't want that juju. Nope.
Yeah,
Get the fucking salt.
that wouldn't be something that I could do for a living.
Hell no. Not even.
I
I don't
actually,
care how
I,
much it pays.
I actually looked into it at one point to do that, be part of a cleanup crew. But
You couldn't pay me enough.
You'd have to pay me a good bit of money.
Like $100 an hour.
The fact that they were so young doing it too is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And that when they started, they really had no idea what they were getting into.
Yeah.
Especially since the boss was like, "Oh, you'll never see the bodies," and then the first fucking thing is you see a body.
Yeah, that one.
I would have been
yeah,
like, "Fuck this shit. Nope. Mm-mm. You're not even going to call to warn a guy. Hey, I'm backed up. I'm not going to be able to
Right.
get the body." I would have waited. I would have been like, "All right, I'm going to go get some fucking food." I'm not. No. I don't even know what to say. That was crazy.
Yeah.
All I'll say is grab the
Mhm.
salt, find the bones, burn them.
Yeah, it's literally something straight out of Supernatural. That ass.
Dead ass. Jeez. Okay. I'll go next because mine's not that long.
I.
Okay. So this is a story. I didn't get the user because I'm not gonna lie, I just screenshot this stuff. Um, but it's on the
I
subreddit
felt
of
that.
it's on the subreddit of real ghost stories. And the title is My Haunting Experiences from My Childhood Home. And this one, I chose it because it hits a little different because I've also experienced some crazy stuff that I might just add at the end of it to like add a little more to the story. But it starts with, Hi, I know this might not sound true or scary, but experiencing it yourself is terrifying. For context, we have a terraced house, so our house and our neighbor's house are together. It's a it's 2 stories high, 2 rooms upstairs, a living room, kitchen, bathroom, and a laundry room. When walking up to the house, you will go through the patio where you will go past the living room window and to our door. We had a few windows in the whole house, but they're all in abnormal human height. But they are all in almost normal human height from the window, so people can just stare in it. Anyway, that is what I would describe our house as like. I grew up in that house, so I only know most of these stories from my parents. Thinking about it now, it gives me goosebumps. So I was around 3 to 4 years old, and I was outside the house playing. My mom suddenly noticed that I was giggling a lot and sounded like I was talking to someone. We know everyone in town, so she didn't think too much of it. When she went outside for a quick smoke, she could see me from the patio, but she couldn't see the person I was talking to. I told her I was talking to an old man and that he wanted to come play inside and play with my toys. She thought I was talking to an imaginary friend, so she said yes and that he could, not knowing she had invited a not friendly phenomenon into our house. First of all, if my child is imaginary friends with an old man, nope, he's not welcome. He play outside.
Bye bye.
Absolutely not.
Like, I've heard way too many stories of the kid having an imaginary friend and it turning out to be like the ghost or the spirit, the demon or whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yep, nope. Your friend can stay outside on the porch. Okay. Because this old guy was not friendly at all, as a kid, I didn't know it, but when I grew older, I could tell he wasn't just an imaginary friend. He was an evil spirit. He would knock on our doors and windows, knock things down, or move them around. He was the reason I couldn't walk down our stairs forward, only backwards. He would push me down the stairs and make loud thumping sounds down or up the stairs. When I was 12 years old, we started sleeping in our living room for 2 to 3 years because the old guy played upstairs in our bedrooms. I remember I had a lot of sleep paralysis up in my bedroom, where the old guy was scaring me, walking slowly towards me. He had really dark eyes, almost black, around 60 to 70 years old, open mouth, and had a raspy old voice. He didn't say much, but when he did, it was in short sentences. I can't remember them, but I know he wanted to tell me something. And then it says, You'll understand at the end of my story. I remember one thing from when we slept in our living room. I had an out of body experience. I was watching myself and my parents sleeping, and suddenly I noticed a shadow at our kitchen door, and I noticed it was looking at my mom. Then I noticed that my mom had sleep paralysis, but this time it wasn't the old guy she saw, but a demon with a long cloak, and it was holding chains on in its hands. It swung them like a lasso and threw it at my mom's feet. The chains locked onto my mom's feet, and my mom couldn't do anything but watch it, trying to scream. The demon started to pull my mom off the couch, and she laid motionless. As soon as she hit the floor, she could finally scream and woke up my dad and me. She couldn't talk, and my dad was so confused, so I told him what I saw, and we called the priest to cleanse our house. My mom couldn't walk on her feet for over a week after that experience. When we were going to move to Denmark from our home city, we had to get our boxes from the attic, and as we were getting them down, we found the picture of the old man. We quickly found our Bible and we said our prayers, burned the picture, and I just felt at peace. I knew he was trying to tell me something, but never knew why. Later, I found out the old guy was my friend's grandpa who died years ago, but he lived in the house before us, so I visit his grave whenever I'm in our old city. And that was the story, which that's just too weird.
Wait a minute. So you said the mom couldn't walk on her feet for almost a week after?
Yes. So the OP was having an out of body experience watching all of this unfold of the mom having sleep paralysis, and all of this is in real time.
Yeah.
Her getting dragged off the couch from this demon throwing a lasso of chains pulling her off.
Did it hurt
And
her?
when yes,
What the
yes.
fuck?
So like I guess from the chains on her feet, it was just too much to walk. And the
Okay.
fact that it pulled her off the couch.
Yeah, that's insane too.
That's some conjuring shit.
It is.
But I don't know if I've talked about it before, but um like when I want to say I was like 12 or something like that. Um we were living in my hometown, and I think it was right after we moved in with my stepdad, and what was it? Normally, like, I went to bed at a decent time cuz I was a child. And sometimes, like, my mom would go to bed and then she would go and she couldn't sleep, so she'd just come back into the living room and watch TV so she didn't wake up my stepdad. And there was one night, it was on a weekend, and I was sitting with her in the living room, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go to bed." And I was like, "All right, I'll go too." So I go to my room, and I'm laying there, and I can't sleep, and I hear footsteps going into the living room because the way our house was set up was we had like a mini hallway. It wasn't like a traditional hallway. Like as soon as you were in the living room, you could see the two bedrooms and the bathroom that was in the middle of both of them. And I was on the bedroom on the left. So my wall connected to where we had the TV. And I heard footsteps and I heard like music. So I'm like, okay, I guess mom couldn't sleep. And I put my ear up against the door, and I still heard like footsteps, like dancing, if that makes any sense, like women's heels on the floor, because we had wood floors. And I heard like old music, like maybe like 50s jazz music, if that, like if you were like think of like an old movie, something like that. And I was like, what the fuck is she watching? And I opened the door and it's pitch dark. My mom had not gone into the living room. She indeed was still in her bedroom. And I freaked out and I was like, fuck that. And the next day I asked her, I was like, hey, after you went to bed, did you ever go back in the living room? She's like, no. She's like, I was just so tired that when I got to the bed, I fell asleep. And I was like, let me tell you about this. And then she was like, I think like she was not trying to freak out about it. And she was like, Taylor, nobody's died in this house. This is like, because they, it was one of
Nobody's
those
died
like,
in this house.
nobody's died in this house. Because it was one of those, like, think of like a Clayton home kind of situation where
Yeah.
nobody's lived in it before. You buy it, you put it on a piece of property. That was the situation. She was like, nobody's died in this house. It can't be haunted. I'm like, do you not know spirits can fucking move? Because I think it was right after my stepdad's grandpa passed away or something like that. And yeah, no. Or I'll never forget, same house, same bedroom. I had a tablet. It was like a knockoff tablet, and I was taking selfies. And at the like, I would just put it in a position, and I would just click the camera button multiple times. And I was going through the pictures to see which one I liked, and I'll never fucking forget. There was one picture where behind me, because do you know, y'all remember like the cubes seats where if you like take it up and you could put shit in it?
Yeah.
Okay, I had one of those and I had clothes on them. And I was scrolling through the pictures, they were all good. There was one picture where there was a fucking distorted old woman's face holding a fucking wooden spoon
Oh my
behind me.
god.
And when the picture before it and the picture after it, there was nothing there but that one. I shit you not. I've been trying to find this picture because I even submitted it to like a paranormal Instagram. And it freaked me out so bad because it was too scary. It didn't make any sense. Because I showed my mom and she's like, "Oh, those are just your clothes." I was like, "Look," I was like, "Okay, if it were my clothes, it would be in every fucking picture I took." Because I took like maybe like 5, 6 pictures. I was like, it would
Right.
be in every single one of them, but it's only in this one and it's not there before or after. And it's not like I like moved the tablet. I literally put it in one spot and would just click the camera button and just move my head. So it can't be from the sun. It can't be something with the camera because I didn't fucking move it. And my dad, I know he's listening to this. He doesn't believe in any of this shit. He's a firm non-believer. And I even showed him and he was like, "Oh, that is weird." But like he didn't I'll tell him about it now, and he was like, "Taylor, that wasn't real. Like, that's just blah blah blah." I'm like, "You don't understand. That shit had me
Dad, you don't
so
get it.
scared. Yeah, that shit had me so scared. I literally couldn't sleep. And my stepsisters were at their mom's that weekend, so I was in the room all alone. I don't know. I just got really bad vibes from that house, and even after when Jackson and I moved into that house later on, bad vibes. I don't know. All right, Abby, your turn.
Okay. So I was at Jonathan's brother's house and I had Moose and Jack with me. It was like one of the last times I went. And Jonathan was out with the kids getting dinner. And Catherine and I were sitting in the living room. And Jack was off in one of the kids' rooms. You know, Jack, he just makes himself at home. And he was laying on the end of like one of the mats that the kids had put down to sleep in one of the rooms. And she showed me, like, she has a lot of activity that goes on in her house. She showed me on her camera that views the hallway, there was literally, you could make it out, something that looked like a person on all fours in the hallway. And against my better judgment, I ran and I
Mm,
grabbed my dog.
Oh my god, I remember you telling me this story.
And the crazy thing
Cause
at the time is, go ahead, sorry.
no, I was gonna say, I think didn't you send a video of it, or
No,
you
I
couldn't get a
didn't.
video?
I couldn't get a video of it because I was too worried about Jack, and I went and I grabbed Jack, and by the time we were done with it, and by the time I even thought about getting a video, we had gone back and looked at the cameras and it wasn't there anymore, which is why it made me go insane too. Because like that was like the last night that we were sleeping there, and like Jonathan had come home and like we were laying there later that night and I could not sleep that night because I was so scared of getting like sleep paralysis. I am still scared of sleep paralysis. I never have had any sign of sleep paralysis, but I am still scared of getting it. And like I was so scared of it
that's
because
valid.
one of Jonathan's nieces gets it a lot in that house. So
I
I was
used to
like,
have it, and I'll get to that later.
nice. But, like, I was really scared, and I was, like, laying there with Jonathan, and I was like, "I don't think I can sleep," so we went into Catherine's room. Brian wasn't there that night because he was working, but we went into Catherine's room, and we were talking with her about it, and we went and looked back at the camera, and she was like, "Jonathan, like, this is real. Like, I know it's real," and that's when we went and looked back at the cameras, and it wasn't there anymore, and that's when I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, all the lights
Mm-mm.
were off, nothing else was on, like, it was the same environment as it was the first time that we looked at it, so nothing could have casted a shadow. It was it was genuinely really scary.
And they still live in that
They
house.
still live in that house. It's a really nice
I'd be damned.
house. It is a
I'd still
really
be
nice
damned.
house.
I'd be damned.
Okay, getting into the Reddit story. Let me find it. Okay, I think this is the first one. Okay. So, this is from the Reddit forum True Scary Stories, hosted by Hot Sauce Fire, and it is titled A Really Creepy Experience I Had in Japan.
Fuck that. Nope. Nope.
Y'all still want to move to China and Japan?
You know, now that you mention it, I forgot about all the scary shit that happens in Japan.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to remind my husband, and we're just not gonna go
Yeah.
Just
anymore.
don't go in that forest.
Yeah,
Oh
don't go
hell
in the
no!
forest.
I'm not about to be Jake Paul in that bitch.
Oh
Oh,
my god, that was so terrible.
sorry.
You're fun. It's
We're
funny as
gonna need a
fuck.
trigger warning. We're gonna need a trigger warning
Yeah,
over this
we're gonna
video.
have to do another 18 plus on this one.
Oh,
Okay, so what is she doing over there? Can y'all hear my dog?
I can't.
Okay.
no.
She should be fine then. Okay. A pretty creepy experience I had back in the early 2000s in Japan. A little background on me for context. I grew up as a biracial military brat and spent the better part of 2 decades growing up in Japan. Having spent years growing up in Japan and in the US, I can confidently say that there is something different when it comes to talk of paranormal or strange experiences. I imagine that on many the subreddit may be familiar with oh shit. I imagine that many on the subreddit may be familiar with how popular spooky Asian stories have come in the last 20 or so years. So read on to hear about some of the strangest occurrences I have encountered. During my late teens and to my early 20s, my social circle and I had a naive obsession with exploring places in Japan known for paranormal activities, urban legends, and investigating creepy areas. This was prior to reality television really blowing up like ghost hunting shows. In Japan, shows like this would broadcast regularly in the summer. Like October is the witching season for Western cultures, the month of August is for Japan. This was our motivation for partaking for these excursions. So here's my story. As a military brat who grew up in Japan while attending school on a U.S. military installation, I graduated in early 2000s. Following graduation, most of my graduating class moved back to the U.S. to pursue college or start their adult lives. Most would leave and never return to Japan. My parent is Japanese, so I had every reason to return. It was December, and I had just returned home to Japan after my fall semester at college. To my relief, a couple of my friends chose to remain in Japan after high school, so I had friends to hang out with while home on vacation. One evening, I'm out joyriding with my buddies. We had nowhere important to be and just driving around aimlessly. Occasionally, we stopped by popular hangout spots for young adults, hoping to meet some cute Japanese girls to flirt with, as how else would a couple of young 19-year-old dudes want to spend an evening? My friend, which I will call Jay, had a 90s Nissan Silva, and he was obsessed with drifting. Truth be told, he was not good at it. You really couldn't fault the guy for trying, though. Oh my god. What is with tonight? That evening, he suggested that we take off to a park. I'm not going to try to pronounce the names because I don't want to mess up the names. That evening, we take off to a park near our hometown, as this large public park had many parking lots peppered throughout its grounds. The lots were prime locations for him to practice whipping his car around, like not causing damage or fender benders. Without hesitation, we all agree and head that direction. About 20 minutes later, we are passing the main entrance to the park. During the day, this was a pleasant public park. Japan, in comparison to other countries, is very relatively safe country. This park was no exception to that notion. However, it did have some unfortunate events happen there. I will elaborate on this more later. After driving into the park for about 7 minutes, we reached the first parking lot. It was around 10 o'clock at night. We pull in the park. I hopped out of the car and pulled out a fresh pack of cigarettes and lit one up. The evening was brisk. I gazed around, letting my night vision calibrate as the lights far off in the distance twinkled. My other friend with us, R, also lit a cigarette, and we proceeded to have a conversation about whether Jay would be able to get his car sideways. Jay pulls out and begins to whip his car around the parking lot. As Jay's car spun counterclockwise, the wailing of his tires attempting to grip the asphalt broke silence in the evening. Even now, I can close my eyes and still remember the smell of burning rubber. Adjacent to the parking lot was a tree line that led into some thick brush and wooded area. The park was known for its green belts scattered through it. I remember looking over my shoulder a few times that evening because I had this feeling that we were being watched from the woods. But each time I scanned the tree line, I saw nothing out of the ordinary. What happened next would cause me to jump so hard that I laughed even now when thinking about it. The cell phone in my right pocket, the cell phone in my right pocket starts ringing and vibrating, and I jump with affright. The fact that light paranoia had set me from watching the tree lines did not help with the anxiety experience from the unexpected phone call. As I was attending college in the States and only back on vacation, I had no longer had a cell phone in Japan. In fact, my younger sister had lent her phone to me so that I could be reached if necessary. I pulled the phone out thinking that she was my mother and calling for something as none of my friends even had this number. Looked down at the green blacklit LCD screen and saw displayed in Japanese was a restricted number. I thought it was strange, but figured maybe my sister was calling from a public phone. Yes, those were still a thing back then. I answered the phone and said, "Moshi Moshi." That's how you answer a phone in Japanese. And there was nothing but silence for a response. I remembered hearing a bit of static, and then finally I heard the voice of a Japanese girl. My immediate thoughts were this must be a friend of my sister, and so I explained that I am her brother and borrowing her phone for the evening. If she needed to get a hold of my sister, she could ring the house. She apologized, and I reassured her that no harm had been done, and then promptly ended the phone call. I placed the cell phone back in my pocket and focused back on the ruckus of noise coming from Jay's car. It must have not been 10 minutes later, the cell phone in my pocket began ringing again. This time I was sure that it had to be my sister or my mother. Earlier that day, I left home and did not say where I was going or when I planned on returning home. It wasn't uncommon for my mother or sister to call and ask if I had eaten dinner or if she should leave food out for when I would return. I pull the phone out, and once again, I have a phone call, and it was from a restricted number. I answer the phone, and this time, the voice of the same Japanese girl was on the other end of the phone call. Before I could ask why she was calling my sister, she cut me off. Now, based off the previous phone call, I thought there was a couple of things funny. I know most of my sister's friends and recognized their voice over the phone. This girl, on the other hand, I did not. Additionally, my sister never mentioned anything about new friends, and her circle was tight. She wasn't very big on being a social butterfly, but perhaps I was wrong. My sister is 3 years junior to me, and so my assumption was the girl had to be around my sister's age and too young for me. I had very little interest in engaging in conversation with her. As she probed me questions, I kept my answers vague. I didn't know why I continued to entertain a conversation with her, but hanging up would just be very rude. Suddenly, she asked what I was doing in the park so late in the evening. I almost began to answer when it dawned on me. I did not mention anything about where I was at or what I was doing. I told her I never said I was in the park. She slightly giggled and tried to play it off, insisting that she thought I said I was in the park. I told her this was weird and that I had to go and hung up. Jay grew tired of drifting in this parking lot. He pulled up to us and from the driver's side suggested we change up the scenery. Ara and I hop back in the vehicle and off we went. Now at another parking lot, we hop out and Jay continues to do his thing. This parking lot had soccer fields not too far from it, and the lamps in the parking lot painted an orange hue, which was a bit comforting. Oddly enough, the feeling of being watched returned to me. I swung around to my right and stared at the empty field on the other side of the parking lot fence. There was nothing. At this point, Jay parks his car and shuts it off. Now silence and a thin film of burnt rubber veiled the parking lot. R starts asking what was up with the phone calls. I began to explain to Jay and R what transpired. They both agreed that it was a little strange, but speculated that maybe my sister mentioned to her friends that her older brother was back in town. Jay proceeds to tease me I should start talking back to the chick, but I protest because I have no interest. Suddenly, my phone rings again. Same deal, restricted phone number, and same girl. This time, she sounds a bit more aggressive. How come you left? What was wrong with the last spot? I asked what she meant. She then says you left the last parking lot you were just at. I remember the hair standing on the back of my neck. I made it a point to be vague and never mentioned what I was doing or where I was at. Yet somehow this girl knew what I was doing and knew that we had left the first parking lot. Something didn't feel right, so I hung up on her. A moment later, and my phone was blowing up. I answer again, this time irate. What do you want? There is silence, and then I hear light static. In a sort of hushed manner, I hear her voice. I'm at the field. I see you. I spun around and faced the field looking for any sign of a person. I remember my heart racing a bit as I fumble to figure out what exactly is going on. What do you mean you see me at the field? I ask. She tells me that she sees me standing with my friends, wearing my gray jacket and my buddy's car. She tells me that she's coming over to us and wants to hang out. The line goes dead. I look at both Jay and R and give the rundown on what she said. They both have weird looks on their faces, and I know them well enough to know when they're lying or pulling my leg. They both just look clueless. My phone rings again. Hey, I'm almost there. Will you wait for me? The girl asks. Huh? No? What is going on here? Why do you keep calling me? Why do you keep calling me and asking questions? How do you know where I'm at? Just who are you anyway? I know all my sister's friends and I don't recognize your voice, I exclaim. I never said I knew your sister, she replied in another hushed manner. At this point, I was like, what the fuck? I look back at the field and I don't see anything. As I'm still on the phone with her, I asked her where she was at. She said that she would be there shortly. I'm sure my friend sensed the panic in my voice. Jay goes on about nobody knows we're fucking out here. How does this chick seem to have our location? Mind you, this is 2000, and social media, internet 2.0, and small phones are not a thing yet. People just can't get your location at that. On top of that, we are a few kilometers out of the way. You just don't randomly run into people like that. The evening is getting later as it is past 11 p.m. and I have no explanation as to what is going on. My phone rings again and before I can even answer hello, she asks if I can see her. I am spinning and jerking like a laundry machine agitator at this point. Both of my friends decided that this is too weird. Ari yanks the phone from my hand, proceeds to speak with her as well. I should explain that we all speak Japanese. Although I am telling the story in English, all the conversations that are happening are in Japanese. R feels like this is a joke and is deciding to toy with her a bit. He starts to ask her what she's wearing. She begins explaining something to him from what I can hear from how he responds. He then asks her what color her undergarments are, but then she abruptly hangs up. R tells me that he thinks he annoyed her enough that she may not bother calling again. We all nervously chuckle, as we cannot begin to understand what all just transpired. My phone blows up again, same deal, restricted call. I answer again, this time upset, but I'm cut off. Her voice is much louder now. I could hear what sounds like wind in the background. She begins saying that she is quickly approaching us, yelling not to leave her. She wants to be with us. All of a sudden, I hear Jay drop a soda can as he faced the field. What the fuck is that? I remember Jay saying in disbelief. I hang the phone up. I look at both my friends, and Jay motions to jump in the car. We all jump in, and he stomps on the gas as we make our escape. My phone rings again. I look, and although I don't want to answer, I feel as though I need to. I take the call and I can hear her voice. It sounds slightly huskier. She casually said, "It's a shame that you all left before I could reach you." Jay is driving frantically away from the park. At the time, I had no idea where he was taking us. It was just quiet and in the car as I could It was just quiet in the car as I had the phone held up to my ear. "Oh well, I guess I would just need to follow you and find you all at the Family Mart that you were going to stop at," she said as she gave a creepy laugh. I then replied, "What the hell do you mean by the Family Mart that we are going to?" Before I realized it, Jay had cut the wheel hard and pulled to the side of the road and threw his four-way hazard lights and brought the car to a sudden stop. R damn near hit the dashboard, sitting in shotgun seat. Jay turned and looked at me. I can still remember the white look on his face. He then quietly asked, "How did she know I was taking us to the Family Mart?" I hung the phone up and then powered it off. We sat in silence for a moment there. This felt like a weird dream or something. I told Jay, "Let's go somewhere else." Shortly after, we drove to a 24-hour restaurant that was our hangout spot where many of our Japanese friends frequented. We just wanted somewhere brightly lit and somewhat crowded to chill out. As we walked up to the entrance, I could see some friends occupying a booth. We walked in and proceeded to join the party. After we ordered some coffee, we started explaining on strange occurrences. Initially, everyone listened on with excitement, but as I explained the story, the look of excitement written on everyone's face eventually faded and it got awkwardly quiet. Another female friend of mine, who sat across from me, I'll call her A, looked at me and asked again whereabouts in the park where we were at. As she asked me this, I could see her make eye contact with her boyfriend, H. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it just as he went into his explanation. He then began to explain, "You guys, you all know what happened in the park, right?" We all exchanged a blank glance. Continuing, there was an incident that happened in the park one evening where a girl was walking through the park in the evening. Someone approached her, dragged her to the green belt where she was assaulted and strangled. I heard some rumors about some bad juju associated with the area. In disbelief, I scoffed. "You're joking, right?" Without any hesitation, he looked at me and said, "Nope, but we need to get you to a shrine. Her spirit may have latched onto you." That is the end of that one, but he did do like a tiny update.
Okay, we
And
need that update.
the
I was about
Because
update
to
what
ask.
the fuck?
the update is many folks have requested an update and everyone deserves some conclusion to this story, so here you go. I realize now that I left the story on quite an unintentional cliffhanger.
You think?
I forget to take into account that not everyone in the audience may have a similar upbringing as myself. Picking up where I left the story off, my friends and I definitely thought that something took interest in me. I didn't receive any further calls. I'm sure you can understand. I had no desire to return to that park to test any further theories. Not even during daylight. It was just too bizarre and unexplainable. It really frightened me down to the core. I was just an 18-year-old kid at the time. I went and visited a local shrine and explained what had occurred and that I was concerned that I may have inadvertently attracted a Yuri. Yuri is a Japanese ghost unable to pass into afterlife. The Shinto priest proceeded to perform a purification on me. I also got a protective amulet to carry with me if you believe in that sort of thing. After seeking help from the shrine, I never received a phone call. My sister never received a phone call from a restricted number. I avoided the park for the rest of my time home that vacation. I did return to the park a few years later. It's funny because although I forgot or suppressed those memories, it came back to me when I returned. This time, it was during a pleasant afternoon, and no, I never received a call. Perhaps the Yuri passed on, or perhaps it sought after another unfortunate person. Who knows? But that's it.
Damn.
Yeah. The next, like the one that I was wanting to read is fucking insane, y'all. Like
You want to go ahead?
he's got like three of them. The one in between is kind of far fetched and is like, that's not really scary. But the first and second one, like the first and third one, they're fucking insane.
Well, then our audience is just gonna have to tune in to our next scary episode to hear
Yes, they
the
are.
next one. Keep them hanging on, keep them waiting. Okay, Kat. So you have some crazy personal experience, and we want to hear all the
I have
crazy.
a few. Um, um, okay, I actually wrote stuff down while y'all were, yeah. Okay, so when I was about 5 years old, my sister woke me up in the middle of the night because something was calling her name. As soon as I woke up, the spirit called out my name as well. It was the deepest voice I had ever heard. My sister clung to the furthest wall away from our bedroom door, crying hysterically. I ran towards our bedroom door and saw a black shadow peep out from underneath it. I tried to open it but couldn't, even though it locked from the inside. After many failed attempts, I started pounding on the door and cried out for my mom. She woke up and came running down the hallway, telling us to open it. I explained that I couldn't and that it was unlocked. I saw the shadow go back to the direction my mom came from. The door popped open and we hugged her and both cried. My mom, dad, sister, and I were the only ones in the house, and we could hear my dad snoring from 2 rooms away. So that's the first one.
Wait, hold up. You mean to tell me
That's one of my
you
earliest
ran
memories.
you ran to the bitch?
I did.
You brave. I would have
Well,
been
like we're trapped in a room. Like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? I was trying to get it open because, like, what else am I supposed to do? But ghosts like to freak out children. That's like a thing. So,
because it's easy
you know,
target.
yeah. Um, there's another. We have a few more for my house, and then there's one other one. But my sister had more paranormal experiences than I have, but I'll tell you about one of her experiences. When my sister was in middle school, she got up to get a glass of water, and when she walked into the kitchen, she saw a creature crouched on our kitchen counter. She
Wait, a
described it,
creature?
yeah, she described it as like a 6 foot tall creature with a lean frame, long arms with claws, gray translucent skin, red eyes, no mouth, and a flat-topped head.
What the
We
hell?
burned the picture that she drew of it. Years later, I met a guy that served in Afghanistan, and while we were hanging out, we started talking about ghost stories. He finished the description of the creature my sister saw and said that it had been following him for years since he'd been serving.
What?
I got
Yeah,
chills.
Dude,
yeah,
I'm no, that's nope. That's just that's such an like a specific description that
yeah. The
how the
flat topped
fuck
head. He mentioned the flat topped head while I was like telling the story. And I was like, that's the most like specific part of this thing, you know? And
ew, ew,
I don't
ew.
I don't think that this was a ghost. Like this is the equivalent of a demon, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, but yeah, uh, there's that.
So
And
wait,
then
did you tell your sister that this homie like knew exactly what like did you ever tell her?
I hadn't told her no, and I tried to draw it one time to explain to my ex like what it was, and I ended up like half drawing it and then burning the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably burn these papers after I'm done with this as well. Um, okay, so there's other stuff. We also had encounters of hearing heartbeats in pillows, seeing red eyes under pillows. I personally felt lungs expand and contract in my bed. Um, I had sleep paralysis. I would wake up with something heavy on my chest and the feeling of being watched. and every night I would sleep in a blanket cocoon with my back toward the middle of the room because I felt like something was looking at me the whole night. Um, a feeling of being watched behind the water heater in our basement, and I told my sister that I was creeped out if I was in the okay, we had a playroom and it later got turned into like my art studio or whatever. So I would go down there and paint for like hours at a time and I would feel something staring at me behind the water heater. So I told my sister like I don't like going there. Like going down there, it really creeps me out. I feel like something's staring at me. And she said, "Is it behind the water heater?"
Bro.
And I was like, "Fuck,
Uh-uh.
oh my god." So, yeah, there's that, and then I personally it was just my dad and me at home, and I was chilling out in my room, like, sitting on my bed, and I heard footsteps, um, coming, like, toward me, and then something sitting down and, like, a rocking chair sound, and I told my dad about it, and he was like, "Well, like, you're crazy, like, we don't even have a rocking chair." And I was like, "Alright."
That's what makes it even scarier,
I
father.
know.
Yeah.
The only way that you can get into our attic, like, growing up was the attic would be in the garage, and you need, like, a 15-20 foot ladder to get up into it. And, like, it wasn't like a squatter or anything because first off, we don't have I don't think we had a ladder that tall, maybe the one that we use for gutters, that's about it. But, our garage door had been s our house got struck by lightning twice, blew out 2 of our TVs, but our garage door was broken because of that, and it was super heavy, so if somebody tried to even get in, like, we would be able to hear it. So, there's that. So I haven't had sleep paralysis since I moved out of that house, and I also believe that my dad's energy might have drawn in evil spirits. Um, After I told my grandpa all of our experiences, he got his priest to come to our house and blessed all of the rooms with holy water, like in a spray bottle, and do the whole like incantation type stuff, you know? So,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
But then
Oh, no.
no, this isn't, like, super scary or anything, but in when I lived in Savannah, I worked at a five-star restaurant that's part of the Haunted Savannah tour. Um, it's one of the first houses, it's called the Old Pink House, and there are a lot of rumors about people that have died in there. One specifically was the original owner's son, is rumored to have hung himself somewhere in the house. And also, one of my managers told me this, but we're not supposed to tell anybody things like this, but basically, being in Georgia in that time period, which was the mid 1700s, or early 1700s, obviously, like, it was a plantation home, and, they kept the children in the attic, away from the slaves' quarters, out back, the stables or whatever, and a lot of them died in the Georgia heat, like, no circulation, no anything, and died of heat stroke, and, the basement is the original tavern, like, the tavern is the original basement, and when they were doing construction, they ended up finding a room behind a wall that was boarded up, like stone, bricks, whatever. When they blew it out, they discovered a 6-foot hole in the ground. Like, there was no floor in that room. And they said that it was a root cellar, but that was also around the time that, like, yellow fever was the thing, you know? So, I don't really know. Um,
Like they were
but yeah,
just chucking bodies down there of people that passed away.
I have no idea.
Like, did they try to inspect the hole or anything? Did they just like fill it back up?
They literally put in a floor, and it's one of the rooms that you can, like, rent for special occasions. Like, it's
The fuck?
that one's I think it's a 4 or 6 seat, like, top, and then the other one, the wine cellar, is a 2 top that, like, people get engaged in and stuff. Um, but yeah, so there's that. That's the history of the house. The thing that I saw, though, I was seating somebody. I was a host at the time. And I was seating somebody, and on the way back to the host stand, I turned into the hallway and I saw a figure of light. It was just standing there for like a second. Then it completely vanished. There's actually CCTV footage of an orb following one of the managers, and she runs down the hallway,
Oh
and
shit.
she's like still on the payroll, but like she doesn't go into the house.
I
Um,
wouldn't either.
Yeah, and then people say that they see like a man in a I don't know what kind of uniform, like a military uniform of the times, like cheers them at the tavern, or like they'll see like a chair that sinks in. Um uh but I also saw like figures of light and shadow in my childhood home too. So, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, that's all my ghosty stories, I guess.
D- Dude, I'm still hung up on the damn flat top head creature.
I know.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like if
god.
you took the body of like the signs aliens and then you like mixed it with a demon and that's what it looked like.
Hell
So,
no.
yeah.
Oh, it's so late. It's so late, but I want to play Fortnite.
Fucking same. Dude, so like never mind, I was gonna say something, but I don't think I got anything.
About my stories or in general.
Just in general.
I got you.
Um,
Well, thanks for having me on your show, everybody.
Thank you for being here and
It's
sharing your personal stories.
it's pretty lit.
Of
I liked your
course.
stories.
Yeah, like
I didn't
w-
like living them, but
I was about to say, like us reading them on Reddit and then actually hearing someone's personal, like for me at least, someone I know personally telling me this story, it hit different.
Because she was
yeah,
genuine in the
Ohio is
background.
crazy. Well, I'm from Ohio, and that's the most haunted state. So,
Damn, I didn't know
Ohio's
that's the
not
most
real.
but
haunted
like
state.
nobody's died in that house as far as I know. My my neighbor's grandma died in her house that was next door, but other than that,
It's
I
also
don't.
the fact that your house got struck by lightning twice.
Bro, it
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
That's what yes, what she said. Because the garage
Well,
door.
yeah, it blew out our TV. Okay, so the lightning hit the corner by our garage door and it fried the garage door, and then it went in to the corner of our living room, went to the antenna for our TV, went down into the cord of the antenna and fried, like it blew the bulbs in our TV
Hmm.
because, it was the early 2000s. So we lost two TVs to lightning.
That's that's crazy.
Yeah. What are the chances?
Literally, what are the fucking chances that lightning will strike your house? Like, okay, lightning striking your house, that's odd. But if for it to happen twice, like how long in between? Like, did it strike and then like a couple years later, a couple months?
Yeah, it was a couple years later, I think. And then we had like this really huge pine tree in our backyard. It's got to be like 150 feet tall or something ridiculous. I don't know, but it was storming really bad, and half of the top of the tree, like it split down the middle, and half of that like slammed against our house and then
Damn.
crashed into our above ground pool. And I had to spend that summer like using a chainsaw and also cutting up the pool.
Damn. And
Yeah.
was the lightning strike the house? Was that that was both times
Yeah,
were
those were earlier.
before the priest?
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Just a lot of bad luck with all that.
Yeah, hell
Yeah.
no.
Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Unpopular Podcast. If you haven't, please make sure to check out our other videos and our most recent with our husbands. And stay tuned by checking out our socials on Instagram to follow for the next upcoming episode. Also, be sure to check out Kaya's music. Link will be in the bio. Credit to also the intro and outro music. Literally wouldn't know what to do without her.